coffee in a can. This is so off-brand for me. But I saw this at the shops and it was on sale. I've tried this once before, but I forget what it tastes like. Not bad, actually. I just need a little pick-me-up. Anyway, hi guys, welcome back to another video, another sit-down video. I promise the vlogs are coming in 2025. I've been vlogging this week. I'm so rusty. I took a little 2-3 week break and suddenly forgot how to pick up my camera. But today's video I'm so excited for. We're combining two of my absolute favorite things, all things budgeting, money, planning, and travel. A little love child, if you will. Yeah, I'm gonna run through my Europe budget breakdown. I tracked every single dollar we spent, so I have the nitty gritty numbers. Everything from flights, accommodation, food, coffee, activities, everything has been documented and recorded on my spreadsheet. And I'm also going to talk through like how we planned the trip. I worked as a travel agent up until March of last year when I quit my job to pursue social media full time. And so I have credentials. I've planned and booked hundreds of holidays with varying budgets and priorities. I think that's the thing about travel. I'm going to share what I spent and my budget, but take it with a pinch of salt. There are so many variables and everyone likes to travel differently. Some people prioritize nicer accommodation or shopping. I personally am there for like the food, the activities, and we'll like save in other areas. I'm not really there to shop necessarily, depending on like where we're going. Also, the exchange rate coming from Australia is shocking. So shopping like doesn't really make any sense unless it's something that I can't buy here. I did a very similar video for our US trip that we did last year and you guys bloody loved it. So I'm excited to film this one today. I'm gonna share as much insider information as I can, ways that we save money, how we just went about planning our trip. I feel like if you've never traveled overseas before, never booked a big overseas trip, it can be incredibly daunting. I'll be honest, I had not booked a big overseas trip until I started working as a travel agent, and suddenly there were these two people sitting right in front of me, their whole life savings in my hands, little 21, 22-year-old Ella, and they were like, we want to go here, here, and here. And I was like, okay, great, let me figure this out. I bloody loved working as a travel agent. Honestly, one of the best jobs ever. It really combines my two favorite things, which is like budgeting, planning, organizing, the spreadsheets, the itinerary planning of it all. I love it. And then like travel, which is like one of my biggest passions. And if you watch any of my videos, especially my personal finance content, you would know that travel is like a big thing that we prioritize in our budget. Number one way that you can save money, and this isn't going to be for everyone, is to book out of peak season. So what I mean by that is when it's the summer in the Northern Hemisphere, that is peak time. It's peak time for the people that live there. Everyone's traveling, summer holidays, and it's also peak time for people that live here. Everyone wants to go and do a Euro summer. And by all means, if that's your plans, like pop off. There are definitely some countries within Europe that like summer is it. But if you're looking for ways to save money, and if the countries that you're going to aren't weather dependent and you're not there for the good weather, then maybe look at going out of peak season. For us, I will pretty much only ever travel during the shoulder seasons, which is like April, May, September, October. I truly believe those are like the best times to travel for me and my preferences. I don't like the heat. We have enough heat in Australia. Like there's a time and a place for it. I'm not there to chase the sun. So that's one way to save money, is to travel out of peak season. Also booking far enough in advance, especially if you are wanting to go in peak time. Consider booking like 10-11 months before, especially flights. I feel like there's this really big misconception that flights are going to get cheaper closer to the date. They're not. Unless the airline is struggling to sell those seats, which during peak time they're absolutely not, they're not going to get any cheaper. The way it works, and I'm going to try and explain this in like the easiest terms, but there's different booking classes. So for example, like booking class A, the airline will allocate a certain number of seats at booking class A. That will be at one price, and once those seats are sold out, it will now go to booking class B, which will be a slightly higher price. Once those are all sold out, you go to the next booking class. And so it's all based on availability. The more availability, the better. So if you have dates in mind, like book it now. Accommodation, a little bit different, again, based on availability. Sometimes they can be good sales. Same with airfares too. Like sometimes there's really good airfare sales, but there are usually big blackout dates, which will be during peak season. So definitely worth playing around. In terms of flights, I always go to Google Flights whenever I'm looking. I just find it's the best search engine. I literally used it when I worked as a travel agent as well. The systems that we used weren't the most search friendly. And so to get like a good overview of all of the different options and different prices, I find Google Flights is the best. And then when it actually comes to booking the flights, I would only ever book with a travel agent or direct on the airline website. None of this like Skyscanner third-party stuff. I've heard so many horror stories. Even if it's a little bit cheaper, like it's for a reason, you know? I'll give you guys an example just to show you. So let's say I want to fly to Singapore from Adelaide. I type in my dates, and this is what I really love about Google Flights. It will show you, kind of give you a preview of the best times to fly. So I can see like 3rd of March, it's only $747. And then we go search, and it should show you nearly every single airline. So I can see Jetstar, my pals. They're the cheapest airline to fly with. There is one stop in Melbourne, but you can then filter through and do like non-stop only. I think there's, yeah, it's literally just gonna be Singapore Airlines. And then it will give you different booking options, but like I said, I would only ever book direct on the airline website. You can select your preferred airlines or alliances if you have frequent flyers with someone. Yeah, just so many different options. That's my favorite way to search for flights, and then I'll book on the website or with a travel agent, especially if you've never traveled before, or even if you have. Maybe I'm biased because I used to work as a travel agent, but there are so many benefits to booking with an agent. Like, it is their responsibility to look after you. If anything were to go wrong, if you need to make any changes, any cancellations, like that is their responsibility. So super handy to have someone in your corner. I saw it firsthand when I worked as a travel agent during COVID. I remember when airlines were starting to cancel things and trying to get refunds as someone that it's booked on a third-party website, or just even trying to contact the airline directly. If you've ever had to call an airline, it's impossible to get a hold of them. But as agents, we have access to a separate line where we can talk to them much quicker. So lots of benefits, guarantees that you don't have to sit on the phone for 8 hours. That is your travel agent's job. The two tools that I use when it comes to planning trips are Wonderlog and the CoPlenty Travel Planner. CoPlenty are the same people that created the budget spreadsheet that I use and the goal and habit tracker that I started using this year. So I love it. It's very familiar. Love the aesthetics. We've got our beautiful little charts, which we'll run through. This is where I track all of the budget side of things. Every single dollar I tracked on here. In my trip expenses, they also have some other tabs like task list, packing lists, daily itinerary if you want to utilize that. There's a trip overview, so many cool features. And then the other website that I use or app is Wonderlog. You can download it on your phone as well, which is super handy. And this is the best for itinerary planning. It allows you to plan your trip day by day. So you just type in where you want to go, and then you can just fill in all of the different places. You can add notes like Chiltern Street, pretty architecture. You can add in dates, times, prices, and it all shows up on here, which is so handy. Especially if you're on a time crunch or you're heading to a big city. I kind of want to go to one area of the city and do everything that I want to do in that area, and then the next day explore another neighborhood. That way I'm not doing any backtracking. I mean, obviously you can if you've got spare time, but this was the best way to optimize our time and make sure that we were doing everything we wanted to do. So this is one of my favorites. And then yeah, all the finances I track on here. For a bit of context, because I feel like context is really important, we traveled to Europe. We did LA. I'm so used to talking about our US trip. We did London, Edinburgh, Paris, and Amsterdam. So we've gone for just under 3 weeks. I think it was 19 days total. So from the 20th of October to the 8th of November. And I traveled with my best friend Olivia, not Nick this time. So everything was pretty much cut in half, which is really nice. I've kind of forgot what it was like to not pay for 2 people. I'm so used to budgeting for both of us as a couple. This trip felt a lot cheaper, which makes sense because we shared the cost of the accommodation 50-50. We shared Ubers, but all of the flights, activities, spending money, trains and other transport, I paid for myself, obviously. So starting with the trip calculator, this is the tab that I use to record all of the expenses that I made before we left. My philosophy when it comes to planning a holiday is to try and book as much as I can before I leave. Usually it works out a little bit cheaper. It guarantees that I'm able to do the things that I want to do, especially when it comes to certain activities like Anne Frank House. Tickets go on sale every Tuesday 6 weeks before, and that was like a non-negotiable. I wanted to do that, and thank God I did my research beforehand and I pre-booked it. Also, I find things work out a little bit cheaper, especially with the exchange rate if you book things in your local currency. So I tried to do that as much as possible. All of this is in Australian dollars on this page, and then I'll run through our trip expenses, which were in pounds or euros. So we've got our trip details, destination Europe. Budget goal was $10,000 for myself. Start date, we left on the 20th of October, returned on the 8th of November. So we've gone for 19 days, so just under 3 weeks. For flights, we have our long haul flight, which we flew with Qantas. That was $2,028. We flew from Adelaide to London Heathrow, and then from Amsterdam back to Adelaide. It was actually a code share, so it was Qantas on the way and then Emirates on the way back. I really enjoy both. I actually slept the best I've ever slept on the Perth to London flight. I'm notorious for not being able to sleep on flights, like no matter the length, and it was an 18-hour flight. Maybe it was because I knew it was so long. I was like, I have to pass time somehow, and I slept for like a solid 7 hours, which is crazy, unheard of for me. I remember when that flight first got introduced, the Perth to London straight flight, I remember working as an agent. I was like, anyone that books that flight is actually psychotic. And here I am, eating my own words. So yeah, we flew out on the 20th of October, and then the only other flight we booked was from Edinburgh to Paris. That was $315 with luggage. In terms of accommodation, we stayed in 5 different places. For the first night, we stayed in the Bollian Hotel, which is in my old hometown. That was $135 for my half. So all of these totals are what I paid for my portion. Then we caught the train to London. We stayed in an Airbnb in London, which I'll have linked down below if you guys are interested. It was in the Paddington area. I really enjoyed that area. It felt very safe. There was a lot actually, I do say that, and we did witness a crime. There was an attempt at carjacking. Nobody got hurt. The police were right there, but yeah, I forgot that happened. Otherwise, felt very safe in that area. And yet we stayed there for 7 nights, and that was $1,095.82. Then from there, we went to Edinburgh. That was $412.83 for 3 nights at the Ibis. I think there's 2 different Ibises, like really close together. We stayed on the one like right on the main strip. I think it's the Southbridge one, I want to say. And again, really nice. That was like one of our more budget-friendly accommodation options, and I actually really enjoyed it. That place had the best shower. Olivia and I were talking about this the other day. I don't know what it is about the showers in Europe. All of our accommodation was lovely, but nearly every place we went to had a terrible shower, and that was the best shower at the Ibis, Edinburgh. Loved Edinburgh. I can't wait to go back. There's something about it. I just felt so at home there. Then we went to Paris for 3 nights. We stayed at Hotel Therese, which was $494 for my half. Again, lovely accommodation. Really liked the area. Super central, very close to like a lot of things that we wanted to do, and nice and close to the metro, which we used quite a lot. Tiny rooms, I will say. I don't know if it's just the room that we booked, but it was very small. And then last place we went to was Amsterdam. We did stay in the Airbnb in there, just with the area that we wanted to stay in. There weren't a ton of hotel options, at least when I was looking. We stayed in the Jordan neighborhood. I'm totally butchering that, but such a beautiful area. Again, very close to the central hustle and bustle, but just a little bit further out, and just felt very authentic Amsterdam. And yeah, we were there for 3 nights. We spent $475.97 each. So in total, I spent $2,613.62 on accommodation, which is actually really not that bad. Even if we times that by 2, $5,227.24 for 3 weeks of accommodation. Not too bad, not too shabby. Big tip if you are looking to save money on accommodation is shopping sales like Black Friday. I think we saved something like 65% on our New York accommodation just because we booked it during Black Friday. So definitely worth looking at. Okay, then for the rest of our transport, we took trains everywhere. I love a train. One thing about me, get me on a train. I just find it so fun. Also, 9 times out of 10, it's cheaper and surprisingly more time efficient. You wouldn't think it because obviously train a lot slower than plane, but when you factor in having to get to the airport an hour or 2 before, and then having to get transport from the airport to the city center, because most airports aren't anywhere near the city, versus a train, normally the train is right smack bang in the middle of the city. You're saving money, you're saving time usually. It's just a lot more scenic. Big train lover over here. BTL, big train lover. So we got a train from London to Bath. This was a little day trip that we did. This was actually our most expensive train for a little day trip. It was $170. Then we caught the train from London to Edinburgh. That was just one way. That was $141. And then our cheapest train was from Paris to Amsterdam, which was $127. And all of the trains I booked on Rail Europe, which I used as an agent. Love it. Super easy to navigate. You can also get rail passes on there as well if you're planning a bigger Europe trip. So we spent $438 on trains. And then for our pre-booked activities, we did the Warner Brothers Harry Potter studio tour in London. That was $238 each with transport included. We could have got public transport there, but it just felt like big faff around. Pre-booked that on Viator, which is like my favorite app for all of tours, activities, all of that stuff. I use it for all of our US activities. A lot of them you can pre-book and like reserve at a certain price and then not pay anything until 24 hours before, which was so nice. I would get it on there when the exchange rate was good and reserve all the activities I wanted to do. And then the money wasn't leaving my account until just before the trip, which was so nice. We had to see a West End show, so we went and saw Mrs. Doubtfire on my birthday, which was so fun. That was $95. When we were in Bath, we did the Roman baths, obviously, have to. When in Rome. When in Rome. I'm so funny. We did an underground ghost tour in Edinburgh, which was $23. The one that we did, I wouldn't recommend. They took us to the underground tunnels of Edinburgh, but it was just like a room. It felt like someone's basement. We also pre-booked the Department of Magic, which is this really cool Harry Potter inspired bar in Edinburgh. That was $35 and you choose from a different cocktail list, get all of the different ingredients and make your own cocktail. It was so fun. And then we did Disneyland Paris, which was $165. We did the 1-day 2-park pass. I'm so glad that we pre-booked this because it actually sold out when we got there. It was said like no ticket sales today. And then of course we did Anne Frank House, which is $27 each. Without sounding dramatic, that was like one of the most thought-provoking, profound things I've ever experienced. I remember reading the book when I was younger and like learning about it in school and doing my own research, but to actually be in that room, it was gut-wrenching. Like, I don't know. And I came away feeling so, I don't want to say motivated, like motivated is the wrong word, but it just made me feel so grateful, so inspired by like her courage and just like motivated to live life, really. Food and drink, I didn't pre-book anything. And then the only other expense was travel insurance, which was $126.94. If you're traveling overseas, you need travel insurance. I actually got a question about this on my Instagram stories. Like, should I get travel insurance? Yes. I cannot be clearer about this. Even if it's somewhere like, say you're going to the UK, you think reciprocal healthcare, the NHS will look after me. No, you need travel insurance. It also covers things like, God forbid you die. How is your family going to get your body over here? Sorry, travel insurance is a must. I'm so passionate about this. Like, you need travel insurance. So in total, before we even left for our trip, we spent $6,158.56, which leaves us with $3,841.44 of spending money. That's why I love this budget, because I can track what I've already spent and how much I have left over for spending money. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty trip expenses and what I actually spent on the trip, I thought I would quickly run through our trip itinerary just to, you know, set the scene, provide a bit of context. So we left on the 20th of October, arrived in London on the 21st at 5:05 a.m. We checked into the Bullion Hotel. We spent the first day in Staines exploring my hometown. I did vlog all of the London portion of our trip. I'll have those vlogs linked down below in case you're curious. So I'm not going to go too into detail. I will also have this exact itinerary linked down below just as like a reference point. So if you're planning a similar trip and you want to see what we got up to. But I thought I'd run through some things that kind of stuck out to me, things that we would do again or like maybe wouldn't do again. Spent the whole first day in Staines. I won't really go too into that. We went and visited like my old house and went to Primark, got matching PJs. And then on the 22nd, we spent the morning in Staines, did the Thames Path walk, and then caught the train to London, checked into our Airbnb. Oh, this is another way to save money. We didn't do it on this trip because we didn't have any long flights or train journeys. One of my favorite things to do, and we'll be doing this for our US trip, when we were flying from LA to Boston, we took a red-eye flight, cheaper, and also didn't have to pay for a night of accommodation. Yes, you will be tired. Guaranteed, like no doubt about it. So yeah, checked into our Airbnb. We did Hyde Park this day, and then we ventured into like Leicester Square, Piccadilly. We went to Liberty London, looked at their Christmas section, and then we had dinner at Mercado Mayfair. The prices that I add here are not what we spent, but rather what I expected to pay. I am so type A. I like to know what I'm up for. So I will go to the point of like looking at TikTok reviews, seeing what other people have ordered, how much they spent, and looking at the restaurant or cafe menu. Like, I want to know what I might be paying. This may be a bit extreme for some people, but I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. And it's almost like I'm living the trip twice. I'm doing such meticulous planning. It feels like I'm already experiencing it, and then I actually get to experience it. If you are going to London, I really recommend this place. It's like a renovated church that's been turned into a food court. So they have a ton of different vendors, and it was so cool. Then the next day we did Marylebone. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I still don't know. We did Daunt Books, Chiltern Street, Regent's Park, and then we did the Harry Potter studio tour from 12 till 7. Thursday, this was my birthday, so we had breakfast at Tom Tom Coffee House, which I loved. Then we did all the touristy stuff this day, so Buckingham Palace, Westminster Abbey. The K2 telephone box is a great spot to get a photo if you're in London. You get the iconic English telephone box with Big Ben in the background. It's beautiful. Then we went to Borough Markets. See, this is the level of detail that I've gone to, like things that I want to order and the prices. Sue me. And with Wonderlog, it will show you the routes. So this day we had quite a lot. Maybe this is a better example. So we started off like number one spot was where we had breakfast, Watch House in Marylebone, and then we went in sequential order. So making sure that we weren't bopping around too much, especially if you're doing a lot of walking, and the days are all colored. So if I see here like blue, we're kind of bopping around quite a lot. Oh, on this day we'll be around this area. Maybe I can move it so that we're not doing too much backtracking. Even though I'm a type A planner, I'm not like, come on, in the moment, I'm going with the flow. I'm going wherever I want to go. This is just a good guide, because I know when you're visiting a new city and if you haven't done the research or done the planning that you need to, it can be so overwhelming. You don't know where to start. There's too many options. So I'm so glad we did this. Then we caught the train to Edinburgh, went to the Milkman, Cockburn Street, which is not Cockburn. If you're going to Edinburgh, you have to try this ramen place, Ikigai Ramen in Southbridge. I'm absolutely butchering that, but best ramen. It was so delicious. Then we did Edinburgh Castle, went to Vennel, which is a really beautiful spot. Dean Village, I'd really recommend walking to. It's like just outside of the main city, and it was stunning. So picturesque. And then we had our ghost tour, and then the Department of Magic for our cocktail making, which was so fun. Then on our last day, we did Stockbridge, the Pantry, Circus Lane. This bakery was, oh, it says permanently closed. Oh no. And then for dinner, I forget where we went. We had dinner with a follower, Zoe. She was so lovely. She took us out to this really nice, like Spanish inspired cuisine. It was beautiful. Then we had an early morning flight to Paris. I wish I had a vlog from this portion of the trip. Unfortunately, I accidentally recorded in slow-mo with no sound. I was switching between this camera and my little DJI Osmo. So all of the footage when we were outside is fine, but all of the talking clips with this camera, slow-mo. It was also at this point that I started feeling really sick, but we still made the most of it. We did Arc de Triomphe. This spot is the best spot for an Eiffel Tower photo. We went to Carrette for chocolate and croissants. It was everything and more. If you've ever seen the infamous hot chocolates from Paris, that is where we went, and it was stunning. We didn't end up going here, but I'm really sad that we didn't. Chez Genu. Their chocolate mousse is meant to be insane. So if you're going to Paris, have some for the both of us, please. Palais Garnier was definitely a highlight. I have never seen a more beautiful building. I was just in disbelief the whole time. My eyes can't compute the beauty of this. And then I have a list of other places to try, things to do, and then our final day we did Disneyland Paris, and I have no regrets. And then from there we did Amsterdam, so we went to the Sex Museum. Melly's Stroopwafel was a highlight. That was so yum. The dungeon in Amsterdam, oh my gosh, you guys, you have to do this. I think it's a franchise. I think they have some in other cities because I'm pretty sure I saw one in Edinburgh. Oh my gosh, I have never been more terrified in my entire life, in a good way, in like a funny, like, oh, terrified way. Like, I was actually fearing for my life, but it was enjoyable. They basically take you into a dungeon, and there's different rooms with like a different experience. We went through like a dark maze, went through a room of mirrors, and in the different rooms they have different live actors. Yeah, it was really well done. The set design, the acting was incredible. It was genuinely scary. Like I think everyone in that room was genuinely terrified. I kind of dropped the ball with the Amsterdam planning. I really didn't put a lot in here, but I will add the things that we did and the places that we went and have a link down below if you guys are interested. But some highlights, we went to Mortimer for breakfast on our first day. That was really lovely. We did do a canal cruise, which was really fun. Now for the nitty-gritty numbers, exactly what I spent on my 3-week Europe trip. I asked you guys for questions on my Instagram story, anything related to this trip or just like travel in general, and a big question I kept getting was what travel card I use when traveling. I would always recommend taking a bit of cash with you, which I never actually do. So do as I say, not as I do. It's always a good idea to have a bit of cash on you just in case anything happens. But I take 2 travel cards, one as a backup, just like with my regular bank. And then the main one that I always use is Wise. I've used it for all of my recent international trips and I love it. I find it has the best fees, the best conversion, super easy to use, super easy to top up. Having your travel card on your phone is so ideal for like tapping on public transport and just like the ease of everything if you do lose your wallet or if you don't want to take it everywhere with you. So yeah, really like Wise. I'll have a link down below if you're interested. But let's go over the trip expenses. So as you saw, the trip calculator, this is everything that we already pre-booked. And then for all of the daily spending, I recorded it in the trip expenses tab. Keeping in mind this is in pounds or euros. Here's an example of an activity that we didn't pre-book. So we went to the Bath Abbey light show. Edinburgh activities, we booked the Edinburgh Castle, that was £19.50. Bertie's proper fish and chips, these were so good. Cafe Andoulas, that's a restaurant we went to with Zoe. You can see here on the Sunday on the Navigo day pass was 21 euros. That's the day that we went to Disneyland Paris. It's like 45 minutes from the city centre. Again, super easy to navigate. Even if you don't speak French, Google Maps is your best friend. We did do one fast pass when we were at Disneyland, which was 19 euros. The only ride that had a really long wait time that just wasn't going down was the Crush Coaster. I'd heard really good things about the ride, so we paid for the express pass and I'm so glad that we did. That was by far the scariest ride of my life. I don't know what I was expecting. I've been on them all. I'm a roller coaster girly. I love a roller coaster, but that was so terrifying. I think it's because I went in with such different expectations to what the ride actually was. You think Crush Coaster, Finding Nemo, it's a children's ride. Wrong. It's just a lap bar, and the way that coaster goes around, oh my god, I'm pretty sure we went upside down. Nothing over here, like the safety measures. I've gone ahead and added everything up now. I've converted everything using the currency converter tab on the spreadsheet and converted all of our spending from euros or pounds to Australian dollars. So total spending money, we spent $2,684.09. That's Australian dollars. 1,600 of that was spent in the UK and $1,065.67 was spent in Paris and Amsterdam. So the euro leg of the trip. And then I've gone in and added it to our total trip calculator. So now we've got the final breakdown and we can run through it together. So in total, we spent $8,832.95. So well under budget, which I'm super proud of. I think traveling with a friend definitely helps. Being mindful with our spending and prioritizing things that we value most. 26.5% of our money was spent on flights, or 2,343 Australian dollars. We spent a total of 2,623.62 on accommodation, or 29.7% of our overall budget. 8.6% went towards transport, so $756, which is actually pretty good considering how much public transport we use and how many trains we use to get from country to country. So that's pretty cool. Trains are the way to go. I'll shout it from the rooftops till the day I die. Activities, we spent a total of 814 Australian dollars. 21.6% was spent on food and drinks. This includes alcohol and coffee, totaling $1,904.36. So quite a large piece of the pie. And then other expenses was 4.4%. That was shopping and travel insurance. I've got $1,100 left over. $1,100 under budget. Slay. I think by far the most expensive city for us was London, or it felt the most expensive. The exchange rate isn't the best and it just felt like overall quite costly. Maybe it's because we spent the most time in London. That's why it feels more expensive. I also asked you guys for questions on my Instagram story, so I thought I would rapid fire through some of these. But this video is already quite long, so I'm just gonna pick and choose and answer these really quickly. Some of these are Europe specific and some of them are just general travel questions. Best time to book flights for best price, I would say like 10 to 11 months before or 3 to 4 months before. How much do you think you should budget per day for food / activities? It's gonna totally depend on your style of travel and where you're going. I'd say like a good starting point is $150, $200 per person per day is like my general rule of thumb when you average out shopping, transport, food, activities. But again, could do it for a lot cheaper, a lot more. What was 100% worth the money? Ooh. That's a good question. I'd say like all the food we had. I'm a big foodie. I love trying different cuisines and trying different, I'd say Disneyland was a big yes for me. Ways to save on accommodation. If you are traveling overnight on like a red eye, you save a night of accommodation. You will be tired, but you don't have to pay for a night of accommodation and you don't waste any time either. You're traveling when you would otherwise be sleeping. For accommodation, is price the main drive or luxury / quality? Where do you compromise? For me, my biggest prerequisite is location. I think location is key. I want to be somewhere that is central to the things that I want to do. So I will usually do a preliminary search when I'm planning. Watch TikToks, watch YouTube vlogs are like the main ways that I research. The best things to do is just like watching other people do them. I'll then have a list of places that I want to go to and then I'll choose my accommodation from there. You'll save a lot of time, a lot of effort. Usually those like the touristy places, so there'll be a lot of hotels in those spots. And yeah, just do research, read reviews, work out the safe areas and the areas that you should avoid. Airbnb over hotels, how do you decide? Again, it really comes down to location. If I can't find a hotel that I think is worth the money, or if it's really expensive, I'll then go to Airbnb and kind of compare between the two. Sometimes you'll find some really good options on Airbnb. Also the length of the trip, it is nice to have access to a washing machine, for example, or a kitchen. Good way to save money. You're not going to a laundromat or eating out for every single meal. Was Europe more expensive than the US? No, clearly. Even taking into consideration it was just me, if we double everything that I spent, it still comes in cheaper than the US. And I think that's purely down to the exchange rate, I'd say. And maybe the things we did as well. Another question, do you recommend hotels or Airbnbs? I usually am a hotel girl just for like safety reasons. There is an element of risk when you're booking an Airbnb. You don't have that extra level of security. So just something to keep in mind. Both Airbnbs we used were lovely and I felt very safe. But my go-to is usually a hotel. How much did you save up for the whole trip? How did you calculate all the expenses beforehand? I budgeted $10,000. I ended up being under budget. And in terms of calculating, I just go through, read menus, work out like the general cost of things. Obviously, I'm not going to decide then and there what I'm going to order, but like I might have a general idea. I'll work out like the average cost of the places that I want to go to, or allocate a meal allowance per day, look at the activities that I want to book, work out the price for that, look at accommodation. Like you can find out all the prices and know how much you're going to pay before you even go. I'm going to wrap up this video here, but if you have any further questions, feel free to leave them down below. Hopefully I covered everything. Hopefully this video was helpful for anyone that's planning a similar trip. I hope you have the absolute best time. It was honestly the best 3 weeks of my life. That and the US were like, I mean any holiday, honestly. My travel memories are some of my favorite memories and I feel so lucky I was able to do so much traveling in 2024. And we're not stopping anytime soon. I really want to vlog that from start to finish and actually show the planning process from start to finish. So if you want to see that, definitely subscribe, let me know, give this video a thumbs up, and happy planning, happy budgeting for anyone that is planning a similar trip. And if you're not, I hope you enjoyed me yapping on about my travels and how much I spent. And I get it, because I'm just as nosy as you. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you very, very soon for another video. Bye guys.